Let's see what's going on in California. Not good stuff.
Fox's senior correspondent Steve Harrigan is on the ground. Steve, this is getting serious here.
Laura, this is a battle really that keeps moving. Before it was in front of the detention center, and now it's moved to the highway. That's the 101 there. As you mentioned, it's really a key artery for downtown LA to get to other arteries. We've seen those protesters move down and block off the southbound route. Police have been hurried there. You see the Mexican flag there being waved, and they're being pushed aside. They tried to block the northbound as well, but they failed. It just goes to show the police really have to defend this entire highway. This is not the first time it happened. It happened.
I always think if you're going to protest or trying to garner the public support for a cause, don't piss off the general public who are just trying to go about the day, going to work, visiting relatives in hospital, trying to get to that job interview that's critical. It's just, or trying to get to a court appearance that could end up, landing you with fines, etc. Whatever the reason. But don't piss off the general public by standing in the middle of roads and blocking people from getting on with their lives. You don't know what people are going through. And yeah, it's probably a situation where you think, well, protest, it's on the news and it's going to garner support. I just don't think that's the right way of going about it.
Sunday at a different spot, but 4 p.m. rush hour, LA traffic. You got to figure there's a lot of angry people in those vehicles down there, and this has not been a quiet day. We're hearing a lot about nonviolent protests. Well, if you stand here, you hear explosions. We've heard 3 of them in the past several hours. Fireworks being fired at National Guard. Water.
Yeah, at what point do you turn around and say, you're not peacefully protesting anymore? This is violence on the street, and violence will always end up with basically reciprocal action. And the National Guard are not going to lose in this situation, are they?
You hear another one right there. Water bottles being thrown at National Guard and flashbangs used in retaliation by the National Guard. There's also looting. We wondered when.
Right. So the flag thing, keep bringing it up in every video. So Mexican flags being waved. So they're from Mexico originally. They've come over to the US. They have tried to integrate into society. They're there illegally, so they got into the country illegally. In some cases, some of them have committed crimes, and those are the ones apparently that they're supposed to be targeting first. So if you're waving the flag of a country that they try to deport you back to, isn't that a good thing? Why are you not waving the US flag? I don't get the logic.
Or if it was going to start, well, it certainly has started. Overnight Monday, a lot of looting. The Apple Store looted. A sneaker.
Yeah. Yeah. That says it all, really.
Store, a legal marijuana distributor, a jewelry store. His business, he said, was absolutely ruined, an immigrant himself. As they try and clear this highway now, we have seen 3 large LAPD buses come in.
I should have laughed, but he slept right on his ass then.
And it looks like they're 4 prisoners. They have cages on them. They were empty when we saw them come in. So we're looking at arrests about to go up here. There's been about 160 over the weekend. That could be a lot more soon, as briefly now for...
I would say there's a lot more coming, arrests, and even after all this probably ends, and hopefully it does soon, for the sake of the general public over there, and the businesses and the citizens. I would say there's going to be arrests after this, because there's going to be facial recognition. There's a lot of footage out there from the general public, from news networks. Not sure News Nation are covering this unless someone saw a UFO over there. I love News Nation, by the way. So I think there'll be a lot of people arrested after the fact.
About 20 minutes, these demonstrators have managed to block off, once again, a key artery in Los Angeles. Laura, back to you.
All right, Steve. This is insane. Steve, when you watch this play out, like, we've heard people on some of the other networks go on and on about how this was, look, nothing's happening here. There was literally someone on another network who was a reporter standing in front of the National Guard saying, look, nothing's happening. This is peaceful.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see.
But you're there, you're witnessing what's going on, and then in 5 or 10 minutes, seeing the police and the National Guard try to move the protesters back because they had to actually move vehicles out of the federal ICE facility there, vehicles that they need to keep order. So, Steve, the description of the peaceful protest, that's completely out the window.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it. It was completely out the window the minute you saw those cars basically on fire with a guy done on top of it waving yet another flag.
It's just not accurate. And if you stood here for a few hours, you'd see it's not accurate. You'd see water bottles or pieces of concrete fly in the air. And keep in mind, you can say non-lethal force or it's only fireworks. When you hear these things explode and you're a police officer,
You try getting a firework exploding in your face and blinding you and saying it's non-lethal.
or a National Guard soldier, you don't know what it is.
Or a piece of concrete smacking you in the side of the head.
You just know that someone is throwing something either on fire or exploding in your direction. And that has happened 3 times in the past 2 hours here this afternoon.
Steve, there was concern earlier today that there weren't a lot of arrests happening. That you saw in real time, authorities were seeing individuals throwing projectiles at the officers, yet no arrests. And that was surprising to the people on the ground narrating this. No arrests, and yet obvious violence. And if that continues to be tolerated, what's the message to people who want to just bandwagon and join in on the so-called fun here? And some of these people just do think this is a form of recreation.
Yeah, you're going to have loads of people just jumping on the bandwagon, getting involved, thinking it's all great fun. You start arresting people and throwing the book at them. You watch how people then go, maybe it's not a good idea to join in. You're still going to have people joining in because the IQ of the general public is low, no matter what country you're in. But, yeah, to stand by, do nothing incites further action against you, unfortunately.
It is stunning to see some of the extreme video that we have seen. When you saw that one man who they've identified now, as we can begin to taste a little tear gas in the air, that one man who they've identified throwing rock after rock at passing officers' vehicles, one after another. And how he's able to do that and how he's not stopped is just, as an American, it's stunning to watch how you can get away with throwing rocks through the windows of traveling police cars.
All right, Steve, thank you very much.
They must be under the...
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
They must be under orders to basically not arrest, to trying to contain. It's almost like they want the situation to escalate so that they can justify further action. And it will escalate. How someone's not dead, so yeah, I do not know. But these things always escalate, and these things never escalate for the better. Someone's going to die, whether it's on the side of the National Guard or the police or somebody in the general public. It could be an innocent bystander as well. But businesses being looted and robbed, not acceptable. So if that was me, yeah, absolutely send them in. Send the National Guard in and take a no-nonsense approach to anyone who loots and steals. Because that's criminal behaviour and criminals should be dealt with. See you on the next one.